Imagine this. You save up every penny for a spring break trip you've been dreaming about, only to have it stolen by some arrogant frat boy nicknamed Drugs. He thought he could get away with robbing me blind, but what he didn't know was that Karma and my boyfriend were about to make sure he'd regret every single second of it. If you've ever wished that jerks like this would finally get what they deserve, hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready, because this revenge is messy, it's brutal, and it is so satisfying. It was the late 80s. No smartphones, no Venmo, no easy way to call for help. If you were broke, you were broke. And if something went wrong, you just had to deal with it. I was a sophomore in college at the time, and like every other broke college kid, I was desperate for some escape from endless assignments and cafeteria food. My boyfriend, let's call him Daniel, was from South America, and his family was wealthy. He and his brother had booked one of those classic spring break trips to South Padre Island. For weeks, it was all anyone could talk about. Sunshine, parties, ocean waves. I was beyond excited. But there was one problem: transportation. The buses were fully booked. My boyfriend and his friends had already arranged their trip, but there was no room for me. That's when my roommate stepped in with a solution. She said her boyfriend and a couple of guys from his fraternity were driving down in a truck. She asked if I wanted a ride, and I jumped at the chance. How bad could it be? So there I was, piled into a truck with four guys I barely knew. At first, everything seemed fine. Three of them were actually pretty cool, chatty, funny, easy to be around. But then there was him, the owner of the truck, the kind of guy who oozed arrogance from the second he opened his mouth. His nickname, get this, was literally Drugs. Not because he was mysterious or edgy. Because he spent the entire ride slouched in the back, stoned out of his mind, refusing to take even a single turn at the wheel. He let everyone else do the work, while he acted like he was doing us some sort of favor by existing. The entitlement radiating off this guy was suffocating. Still, I shrugged it off. I was just grateful to get to the beach. All of our stuff was crammed in the back, and I wasn't worried. At 19, you don't think people will actually steal from you. When we finally arrived, my boyfriend was waiting. I practically leapt out of the truck, handed Drugs a crisp $100 bill for gas, more than fair back then, and said, "Thanks, hope you guys have a great trip." I should have been done with him right there, but unfortunately, he wasn't done with me. That night, as we were getting ready to hit the bars, I opened my suitcase, and my heart dropped into my stomach. My cash, all of it, every last dollar, gone, $300. That might not sound like much now, but in the late 80s, for a broke college student, that was everything. That was my food money, my bar money, my emergency money, weeks of saving. I felt my throat tighten, my chest pounding. My hands shook as I rifled through every pocket, every zipper, hoping I'd just misplaced it. But I hadn't. It was stolen. And I knew who did it. The other guys had been decent, respectful even. But Drugs? He'd been eyeing my stuff from the second we got in the truck. I could picture him digging through my suitcase with those greasy hands, smirking as he stuffed my money into his pocket. I broke down crying. My boyfriend Daniel was furious, not at me, but at the audacity of it all. He wrapped his arm around me and said, "Don't worry, I've got you. You're not paying for a single thing." But I could see the storm brewing behind his eyes. And when his brother found out, let's just say, they weren't gonna let this slide. Almost a week later, the party was still raging. But for me, the sting of that betrayal hadn't faded. One night, we walked into a bar, laughing, music thumping, lights flashing, when suddenly my stomach dropped. I saw it, their truck. The frat boys had just pulled up. Panic surged through me. I started shaking. I whispered to Daniel, "That's them. That's the truck." He looked at me with this calm, steady expression and said, "Don't worry. We'll leave. But first, show me which one is theirs." I pointed it out, my heart racing. He nodded once, exchanged a look with his brother, and without another word, they slipped outside. I sat inside, pulse pounding, convinced they were about to get into a fight. I imagined fists flying, cops being called, everything spiraling out of control. Minutes ticked by. I wanted to run outside, but I forced myself to stay put. Then suddenly, Daniel and his brother came back in, grinning. He grabbed my hand and said, "Let's go." And that was it. We left. No explanation. For the rest of the trip, we had the time of our lives. Laughter, beach days, dancing until sunrise. It wasn't until the very end at the airport that I found out what they'd done. We were sitting at the gate waiting for our flight when Daniel leaned over casually and said, "Oh, by the way, drugs? He's screwed." I blinked at him, confused. "What do you mean?" Daniel smirked. "We filled his gas tank with sand." For a second, I just stared. Sand. The stuff we'd been walking on all week. The stuff clinging to our shoes and clothes. They'd poured it straight into his truck's tank. I didn't know whether to laugh or panic. Part of me felt guilty, like, was this too much? But another part of me, the bigger part, felt this surge of righteous satisfaction. Because let's be honest, this wasn't just petty payback. This was justice. A couple days later, my roommate came up to me, gossip spilling from her mouth like wildfire. "Have you heard what happened to the guys?" she asked. I played dumb. "No, what?" Her eyes lit up. "Their truck broke down like an hour after they left. Total engine failure. They were stranded for 2 days. Had to replace the fuel pump, clear the lines, and even replace the entire engine." I bit the inside of my cheek to keep from smiling. "And get this," she added. "Drug's dad was so pissed, he made him drive the truck all the way home by himself. Then he revoked his truck privileges completely." I nodded slowly, pretending to be surprised. But inside, I was glowing. He'd stolen my money. He'd ruined my trip before it even started. But in the end, karma cost him an entire engine, and probably his pride, too. That truck, the one he thought made him so cool, so untouchable, was destroyed because of his own arrogance. He thought he could steal from me and walk away laughing. Instead, he walked away, broke, humiliated, and without the one thing he loved most. Sometimes revenge doesn't need a confrontation. Sometimes karma has a way of finding people exactly where it hurts. And let me tell you, watching arrogance crumble under its own weight, that's the sweetest payback of all. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell us in the comments, what's the most satisfying act of karma you've ever witnessed? And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more stories just like this one.